I'm going to introduce how to start your own NFT project. We have Piki and Sara. So,
hi everyone who's not left, thank you.
y'all look so good too. I love your outfits.
Those are chairs.
Let's figure out where we want to.
Okay, right. So, my name's Sophia and I run PikiDear, which is a 1-1 art project so far, may move into generative. And this is Saira.
Jamieson, am I on? No.
Saira's not on.
It is on, yes, there we go. I just need to go a bit closer. So I'm Sara Jamieson. I run I've got an art project, an NFT, which has just dropped on Super Rare. So it's auctioning literally while I'm talking, which is very exciting.
Nice.
And it's called Blockchain Boobies. So yeah.
Well, tell us more about blockchain boobies. Nudity?
Yes, and that is the main problem, actually, that I have actually had in creating this brand, because censorship has been not my friend, for sure.
So there's censorship in the NFT space, because I know OpenSea will not feature artists that have nudity, which is a new thing that I've found out. So what are your challenges with that?
So when I was making the brand, I didn't, when I was making my art really, I didn't realize that that was going to be the case.
Yeah.
So my entire work as a painter, I've been an artist all my life, and my work features nudes, not direct nudes, not hardcore nudity. In fact, they're quite abstract, I would say, but you can see the nipple, and you can see the nipple in relation to the breast.
How dare you?
I know. We have boobs. Don't tell anyone. And that's what the algorithm picks up. The algorithm picks up the relationship, which is really interesting, actually. It picks up the relationship between the circle of the nipple and the curve underneath. Now, if it can detect those two things, it's sexually explicit. You're done. See you later.
Oh my goodness. I had no idea about that, but let's pull back a little bit. What made you want to start your project? And I guess, what made you choose the medium in which you've created it? So digital, hand-drawn, etc.
Yeah, so I started off as, I've been a painter for many years. Before I was an artist, I ran a production studio in Soho for 15 years. So I've got a background steeped in technology, events, in the film and the music industry. I basically sold up and lived my dream of becoming a full-time artist, which I thought had pictures of me, like visions of me painting.
Bet your parents
by
love
the
that.
sea. Oh, don't even. That's another panel talk altogether. And then this year hit, and the Web3 just erupted, and I was trying to stay away from the pixels, and I just love technology. So I thought, you know what, let me just see if I could adapt some of my work. And then I thought, no, I'm not going to adapt my work. I'm going to create work. So I literally picked up an iPad and I started drawing. And I was going through a bit of an emotional state, let's say, at the time. And so I was taking a bit of time off out the studio. And I literally just walked around with my iPad and I drew and I drew. And I ended up drawing 255 of these women. And it actually took somebody in Web3 to go, you know, you've just created an NFT series. And I had no idea.
Yeah. I think that's kind of the same for me. I'm an illustrator. I have an illustration business in real life, you know, selling gifts and prints and things like that. And it's so saturated. And you can't really, to get your work seen as a traditional illustrator or painter is really difficult. Whereas Web3 is still new enough that you can kind of come onto the space, find your own, you know, style or whatever, and actually create a project out of it.
Yeah.
And I think, you're able to get your work seen, whereas you probably wouldn't in the real world, you know, because in the real world you need an illustration agent, and they're notorious to get into. And in a similar way, if you're a traditional painter or illustrator, your work you need to see a piece of work and be able to say, that's this artist. So I'd say if you're creating an NFT project, especially if it's 1-1s, you need to have a developed style, and you can sort of journey that whilst you're releasing projects on NFTs. But I think it's better to hit the ground running and sort of hone your style before you release anything. Okay, next question. What were your biggest challenges when starting the project?
So for sure, I've sort of talked about the censorship side of things, but the other part is social impact, because when I created my NFTs, it came from a place of, so I'm a South Asian, and I found it really, really difficult to promote my paintings and my work because it all stems from my childhood, my diaries, my relationship between my culture. And I sort of grew up in Pakistan and London, and I found that a lot of galleries are, I'm going to call it out, a little bit afraid of working with me. Like I had one gallerist that were like, you want to put Quran stands under your art? You can't do that because we're going to have bricks thrown in our window. And it was like, holy shit, like this is tough. And going into the Web3 space, that's been a little bit of a challenge in the sense that I've noticed that if I put anything too political, again, I get shadow banned. So for me, it has been this kind of ebb and flow of trying to get my work out there, which is, on one hand, I've got nipples. On the other hand, I'm talking about the women fighting in Iran, and my current series is Women Life Freedom. So that is a hashtag that right now is getting banned to hell. So
Yeah.
it's definitely been, so the challenge is basically creating work that I want to and not having to change it, because the solution, apparently, is that I should cover my boobs and I should not use hashtags like Women Life Freedom. But then surely that's gagging me, and that's not allowing me to become an authentic NFT artist.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if anyone saw the Lucian Freud show recently at the, the National Gallery. I mean, it's tits and fannies.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
and it's Lucian Freud. So, yeah.
Yes.
Why can that not happen in Web3? Just off the back of that, I'm really interested because I create profile pictures. They're 1:1 women, which means not generated, hand-drawn on Procreate. But I wanted to include different races, different aesthetics of women. And then I suddenly thought, but I'm a white girl. How important is inclusivity? And what do we, if any, have any responsibility for that? And actually, is it my place? And I suddenly thought, should I burn those? I don't know what to do. Because I want people to feel included, but at the same time, what the fuck do I know?
No, honestly, 100%, you have to, and that's the problem. Like with my current series, I decided to do a collaboration with other musicians and poets and spoken word artists. And when I did the call out, it wasn't for brown girls, it was for men, it was for girls of all walks of life, because this whole thing about representation and inclusivity, it's not about us, it's about everybody. It's about rebalancing the stakes in a world with Web3, which is, I think it's something like 0.004% of marginalized women are in Web3. And that to me is shocking, because how is it supposed to represent who we are? So yeah, it's really important for everybody to have these conversations. And for me, going back to kind of our question of how do you build an NFT project, I love the fact that with Web3, you can really think about something that you're really passionate about and include that. Whereas as a traditional artist, people would just, you have a gallery and everyone just wants to see my work, and that's lovely. But with Web3, the conversations that you can have and the communities that you can bring in and the education that you can put out there is paramount to causing that little shift. And that tiny little drop in the ocean is going to cause huge waves down the line, because we are only just beginning. So it's really important to think about your social causes. If that's, you don't have to make an NFT project about social cause, but if there is something that you are passionate about.
But you're a dickhead if you don't.
Yeah, bless you. Yeah.
I think feeding off of that 4% of women in NFTs, we do have a long way to go. So I completely agree with it. For the people in the room who are curious about how to start your own NFT project, and you both as founders of your own projects, what program are you using on your iPad to get started that others could download and play around on and try and build from?
Well, I have a little Discord server, very small and sweet, but I use Procreate on the iPad, and I've been sort of like teaching some of the members on my Discord some of the tools of how to use that. really weird. I'm just remembering a dream I had last night, right? Where apparently...
Do we really want to share this?
No, because it's about Procreate. That's how sad I am. And the dream was that anyone that used any other brush apart from just the normal pen was cheating. Which is not true. There are so many things that you can do with a single brush on Procreate. I don't think you're any less of an artist if you do create digitally. But obviously we know artists who do real paint and real life cool stuff. But yeah, I was using Illustrator at first, and then I just find being able to sort of like, you're still using a pen. You know, you can make mistakes. A lot of the cool aesthetic things that I've come up with have been mistakes. So I've accidentally deleted a layer, and I've thought, oh, that looks really cool. And, you know, when you're painting, it's easier to fuck up.
Isn't the undo button the best thing in the world?
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, but now sometimes when I read magazines, I'm going, doing the undo, and I'm like, why isn't this working?
Where's that?
Yeah.
I agree. But now I'm the same, actually. So coming from a traditional paint background, I did think about just to take photographs of my pieces and have those at the NFTs. But there was something about the challenge of coming into a new space, and I wanted to create new work. So as I said before, I picked up the iPad. Also with the iPad, it allows you to make these mistakes and really just play around with different, as you were sort of saying, different brushes, you know, different styles, different, you know, completely different layers. You can really mess around with it. But I would say if you wanted to really go down that road, to learn Photoshop as well, because I cannot explain how much better my work is when I take a Procreate file, convert it into Photoshop layers, drop that into Photoshop, and the things that you can do in Photoshop are insane.
Yeah, like animated GIFs. Some of my, you know, there are certain pieces of my work that I've gone, this would be really cool if this moved and there was rain coming over it. And I've done After Effects animation with them, but if you're not used to animation, you can go and create a very easy frame animation in Photoshop. And all of a sudden, you can, you know, mint it for a little bit more because it's an animated GIF. And it's so simple.
Yeah.
So yeah, Photoshop. But I think also if you're already a doodler or if you're already a photographer, stick with that. You don't need to be technical. Cut stuff up, move stuff together. Like it can be anything. I mean, I've got a friend who's a comedian, and she films her jokes in costume, and they're her NFTs and they're movie files. So it can be anything, but I think it should be something that's sort of always been burning within you for a long time, rather than being like, I want to be a millionaire. Let's just sort of
Stick with your niche. Yeah.
stick with your niche. Thanks, summing it up. Yeah.
Yeah. But if you do want to be a millionaire, that's okay too.
Yeah, good luck. let me know.
But I think I want to kind of move it on to a bit more about the exposure, because it's one thing creating the work, and that's, I guess, a really small part of any business. I mean, that's what it is. An NFT project is a business, which is one of the reasons why I love this space, because
It's like a full-time job.
100%. And it's all these things that kind of you would do in business that incorporate into it. So exposure, self-promote exposure, which is notoriously what women are like, no, we don't want to get out there. But you know what? The brilliant thing about being a woman in this space is that there is so much out there for us right now, so much opportunity out there for us.
Yeah.
And actually, there's lots of conversations that are really interesting that you can actually go out there and have, because the one thing that we can do is tell a bloody good story. You know, and my work is definitely centered around my life, so all my promotion is based around, I mean, it's a little bit intimate, actually, especially with my Instagram. I do these pieces to camera where I'm literally talking about what the hell's going on in my life, and I incorporate that into my work, and I do it quite well. But exposure is a huge part. And my path to achieving, I guess we're going to call it super rare status, was entirely down to exposure, entirely, in a nutshell. It was just getting out there, doing panels, talking, creating my own panels, setting up events, and just really really promoting and pushing my work in a visual sense, in a storytelling sense.
Do you guys ever implement Twitter Spaces at all?
Yeah, so I was on one a couple of days ago. Yeah, I think they're really important. I mean, I've only really moved into the Twitter sphere not that long ago. I had a dormant account for years like everybody else, and I'm now trying to pick it up entirely. I was at a Token Tracks party last night, and I met their head of innovations for artists, and he literally just said, you need to, he goes, I've seen your Instagram. He goes, we're watching you, but you need to pull it all over onto Twitter, like all of it. Get yourself on there. And I was like, no, I need to, but I'm just such a Instagram baby. But he's just like, no, you need to. He's like, there's no excuses. Get yourself on Twitter. And he goes, all the stuff you're doing on Instagram, which is, pieces to camera and showing how I'm doing my work, my thought processes behind my work, just being really honest. He was like, do it on Twitter. And I'm like, Instagram's a bit more of a safe space. He's like, get over it, get on with it, move it forward.
I would also say if you're thinking of starting a project, to get on Discord. I know we've had a couple of chats today about that. It was terrifying when I first downloaded it, opened it. I found it completely overwhelming. Then I set up my own one, and no one obviously joined. Then you have to integrate Twitter and begin inviting people. And it's a great way to learn how Discord works by starting your own server. You can share work in progress. You don't have to have a project that's out. Like Sisters of Saturn, for example, their drop hasn't come out yet, but their following is huge, their community is huge. And I think it's a great thing to do is to build up a momentum, or just build up a group of close followers, share work, come up with fun giveaways and things like that. And I think you can start doing that pretty much right away, or as you start perhaps, creating pieces of work. Discord and Twitter, unfortunately, I want to leave Twitter so badly because of, he who must not be named, but it's just, unfortunately, it's a really good tool. And Spaces is great because you can dip in, you can listen, and you don't have to speak. And, if you're an introvert, which surprisingly I am, and I think, Instagram is sort of slowly dying a death in this Web3 zone. Nobody really respects it.
The algorithm of Instagram hasn't caught up yet, and that's a problem. Yeah. You put hashtag NFT or hashtag NFT artist, and that is it. You get completely inundated by spam bots, which then triggers something on your profile, you're shadow banned. So you're literally in this vicious cycle. So it is really important to have a Twitter presence. And also, if you then want to start promoting your work, one of the first things they do is ask you is, what is your Twitter profile? What are you doing on Twitter? Do you do Spaces? And you sort of mentioned about Spaces. They are so important. And to begin with, just follow your favorite people and tap into them on Spaces. Just listen to them, and then eventually, like I did, I was quite nervous. I kind of put my hand up on the Twitter space, and they were invited me to talk. And it's actually quite easy. It was a lot easier than I thought, particularly with obviously Instagram lives and stuff. Here, you can be sitting in your pajamas in your studio like I always am. And I'm just and you can just blabber on about your work. And then those people in Spaces will follow you. And then just now I was in the bathroom and, I met somebody that I met the other day in a community space.
So she accosted you in the
I met her in a community space and she's like, babe, we need to do collaboration together. Here's my email. Let's get in touch tomorrow.
Yeah, it's bold.
Absolutely, 100%.
Yeah.
She's from an amazing company. So it really, you never know where you're going to meet that next person that's going to go, let's collaborate, let's do this. I mean, again, Super Rare found me through Decentral Art Pavilion, who are a gallery based in Venice. And they're doing a show on goddesses of the verse. And they invited me and 9 other global women to be in this Super Rare exhibition, which was unbelievable because the level of these other 9, I'm like, oh shit.
Yeah.
They're like, no, you are our underdog. And I love that because they're like, we know what you talk about. We know what your themes are. We know the struggles that you're facing with talking about women, life, freedom, and the nudity you have. And they're like, and that's why we need you in here to try and raise that bar and to make it a bit of a level playing field. So you've really got to get yourself out there as much as you might not want to. It's not, and Web3 is not a space to really sit back and not talk about your work, not enter
Ask
spaces.
questions as well. I mean, on the whole, people are pretty supportive and sweet. And, you know, I had to go through, I learned from nothing and thought, I'm never going to be able to do this. I'm never going to understand what a whitelist is, what an allow list is, how to do an airdrop. Like, and ask questions, watch YouTube videos, and you'll wake up one day and it'll just feel like you have a handle on it.
Right. Like it essentially, the beauty of it is it allows someone in another country, from any country, who is just painting on their own and usually sells their art maybe online, maybe at the market street down the road, or they're just selling their art to their friends. It gives them a giant echo chamber of like-minded creators who are interested in purchasing their art. So the network and the beauty of all of this is insane, of digital art. So we've talked about starting your projects. We've talked about which platforms you use and programs you've used to get started. Let's talk about the importance of these events, because now I'm sure everyone in the crowd is going to come want to find you guys and see some of your art. So where can they find you and your art?
Yeah, this would all make a lot more sense if you saw our art, I think. So just before we dip into that, because I want you guys to actually feel like you can go away and start an NFT project. In terms of platforms, as in marketplaces of where you sell your art, I was talking about this last night, and I think I'm on Foundation, Known Origin, and OpenSea, right? And obviously Super Rare is like the grail of stuff, and I think don't worry about that. Start with OpenSea.
For sure, 100%.
Like, they support artists. They share my work all the time. They're great. And you don't really need to kind of... If someone's on Super... I mean, I wish I was on Super Rare, or found it doesn't matter. So just stick with one, learn that, and go from there, because it can be... You know, it can be really confusing, I think.
Yeah, but we're really at the start of this, and that's the beautiful thing, that actually, like, even everybody in this room that's wanting to start an NFT project, we're all in the same boat. We're all just started. It all happened this year. So, you know, years down the line, you know, this will be like, this is year zero. You know, so yeah, for sure, just create stuff, chuck it up there, see what happens. It doesn't matter. You don't like it, burn it. It's gone.
Yeah.
I mean, it really doesn't matter.
And don't be like, right, I'm going to create 5,000 pieces. Just release 10 and see how it does. And do the promotion, the tweeting, Discord, try and get a community, do that. But sorry, to answer your question, my name's Sophia. My brand project? Oh, sounds awful.
Your brand.
My brand is PikiDear, named after a cat that went missing. My cat, Piki. Oh. Yeah. I know, my little PikiDear. My name's not Picky. People keep calling me Picky, which I think is really funny.
I called you Picky.
I'm at PikiDear on Twitter, and you know they've got the link tree and stuff like that. But yeah, what? And yourself, Sara?
Yes, I am Saira Jamieson. You can find me on Instagram and Twitter.
Oh, my name's not up there. God damn it.
And you are, darling. You're up on the very end.
Okay.
And
Just your username.
Yeah, but I mean, you can Google or just find hashtag blockchain boobies on any platform, and my work will come up, because that is my hashtag.
If some of y'all's wives look through your phone and you see blockchain boobies, I'll be worried.
They'll just be like, it's a Web3 thing. Get off my back.
I mean, yeah, don't Google it on Google. Sorry.
It's not porn.
I shouldn't have said Google. I actually should have said Google it on. Search it on Twitter or Instagram, not on Google, because that would be a bit dark.
Yeah, and right, 1 minute 30. What do we do? Okay, 1-1s versus generative NFTs. Let's just quickly. So generative, obviously, you create traits. So you create hair differently. You may have 1,000 different skin tones, or hairstyles, or crowns, or accessories, or pets either side. It goes through a program, and it creates however 10,000 or whatever. 1-1s, you do one piece of artwork, you sell one piece of artwork, and that's unique. Thoughts, pros, cons, quickly, for 1 minute.
Well, I kind of sit in the middle of them, actually, because mine are one-of-one pieces, but they are traits. Because, for example, in some of my pieces, they might have a comb, and that might appear, this magic comb or a magic potion might actually appear in quite a few of my pieces. And I realise that's the same in my paintings, again. So for me, it's quite interesting, because somebody might like certain pieces of mine with the potions, and they might want to collect the ones with potions, or they might want to collect the ones with the gold nipples, which always seem to do quite well with my collectors. So yeah, it's always... Are
your collectors mainly, do you know if they're mainly women or men?
So in the traditional art sense, they're women, mainly women.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah, I always want, if a trait's got a cat, I've got to get it.
Me too. I like it.
Yeah.
Awesome.
No, I'm not very good at doing animals. Sorry.
I'm not good at drawing anything,
The
so I'm
traits are mainly...
I don't think you need to be able to draw. That's the thing. Like, it can be poetry. It can be... That's the thing.
Video.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
A rock.
Anything.
What was the rock that sold for? It was like 280 grand. 2 years
Oh,
ago?
that's
Someone drew a
depressing.
boulder.
On that note, I think
Yeah.
we're done.
On that rock, yeah.
On that, yeah.
note,
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thanks for sticking around, you guys. Thank you.
I
All right.
appreciate you guys so much.
Thank you so
That was
much.
such a lovely panel.